Tommy Morrison, not necessarily on this subject, but a victory for him and the passage at the legislature of the helmet bill, based on a number of things, not the least of which was a surprising amount of testimony that had been provided and engrossed in the committee report. Good morning, Senator Morrison.
Hi, good morning, Ray. Thank you for the opportunity. Actually, this is a victory for safety on Guam for motorcyclists. So especially for me.
I was going to wear my helmet anyway. It's just, we get through the issues on whether or not there's a place for the government to tell me what to do, and that had it was a concern. But I'm over 21 years of age, so it is still my choice, and that comes from, as I said, quite a lot of testimony that had been provided to you in the public hearing that you folded into a new bill.
Yes, actually, Ray, it was we worked closely on the age requirement. Actually, it's 18. Actually, it's not 21.
Was there an amendment?
Yes, Senator Tom Matta proffered that amendment, and we, of course, it passed unanimously on the floor. So we worked that out, and I appreciate his concerns, and I knew where he was coming from. I was just trying to point out that some of the higher insurance risk that our insurance companies recognize for those under the age of 21. So that was really my argument about that. But respectfully, in spirit of compromise, we moved it back down to 18. Fair enough.
Yeah, and that will also be fine. I'm sorry, I was obviously watching other sessions going on and other bills that were being discussed, so I missed that. So it's not 21; it's now back to 18.
Yes.
And another reason for folks to be able to appreciate that. You've also got a couple of other interesting amendments in there, and I'm initially concerned about enforcement. I mean, a police officer's not going to know just by looking at somebody whether they have been riding a motorcycle for 3 years or so, or whether even they examined on 1 cc sized motorcycle but are riding something different. How do we enforce those kinds of additions to the law?
Well, one of the suggestions was made. Again, remember, there is a section in the bill that has passed that will allow the Director of Revenue and Taxation to promulgate these rules. And I'm sure some of the recommendations were made about the type of license plate on these motorcycles. Also, in the back of the driver's license or motorcycle license, clearly there's an indication of endorsement, and you can clearly add new. Remember, every time the issuance of these licenses, I think it's every 3 to 5 years, so it'll be easy to indicate new and for as far as enforcement purposes.
Right.
But again, we'll allow the Revenue Tax Director to promulgate these rules and bring it before us.
All right, and as usual, if you get pulled over for doing something stupid and they find that you are under 18 and not wearing a helmet, or that you were riding without the right kind of CC under you, then you're liable to face a fine and a ticket fee.
Yeah, that's right. That was brought up by the motorcycle community, and I appreciate that.
It's something that, unless you're in it, you don't realize. But I guess there might be the guy. I knew people that would show up at the driver's test in a borrowed car because it was automatic transmission, right? But the family car that they were supposed to drive was a standard transmission. So I'm gonna take the easy car to the test. So I can see where guys say, I'll take the easy motorcycle to the test.
That's right, and that was clearly a loophole that they were defining that at a public hearing. And again, a lot of good things came out of that public hearing. It was very productive, and I appreciate what they were sharing with me. And I took that to heart, and I'll see how I could translate this into some language and put it before the body. It came out basically to what we're trying to do is say, if you go in and test with a 50cc or 125cc,
then you've got a license for a 125 motorcycle.
Right, and that's a serious safety concern because you guys are go and test with a 50cc and come out of a 1500cc or a Harley the next day,
right?
Which clearly a very powerful bike to handle out there in the streets. And We'll just make it fair, and then they'll also have the option to qualify for that through an examination. If you'd like to ride a higher CC or higher power motorbike, then you'll have that opportunity as well to go in and test out on it.
Tell me about the safety and defensive driving program.
Well,
that in my mind is the best part of the legislation. You and I have had our disagreements on bits and pieces of it, but I like the inclusion of that part there.
Right, and again, Ray, I've been listening to my colleagues that went around. There's a lot of folks that went through this process several times, and again, I read the committee reports. That was brought up actually in the last committee report as well. So I am really listening to the concerns of the community, and we know that the goal is to really see how we can put this in language that is reasonable. And we did come up with this safety course. It pretty much will allow the revenue and taxation to adopt the safety course and give them up. We know they're not ready, so if you look at the legislation, it gives them up to 2015. And we'll also allow a mechanism for them to outsource the safety course. So in hopes maybe they could expedite this process a little bit before 2015.
Oh, I'd like to, when it comes to things like that over the Department of Revenue and Taxation, I'd like to see them outsource as much of it as possible. I mean, the written exam, outsource that. The driver's test, we've already got a company that's doing that now and seems to be doing a terrific job getting people licensed a whole lot faster than waiting out the examiners that are available at DRT. So the more of that kind of thing that we can get going, the better, and even more so when it creates not so much the safety as much as the defensive driving aspect. Motorcyclists, bicycles, pedestrians on the side of the roads, I think are all at a disadvantage and naturally have to be thinking in terms of defensive movements when they're out there, because there are A, too many lousy drivers, and B, too many drunks on the road.
That's right, and again, from the motorcycle community and those concerned, they've talked about all contributing factors to what causes these accidents, and rightfully so. But we wanted to ensure that the safety course would be in place, so that way, if those types of contributing factors, or hopefully we can have them a little bit have a better understanding and aware in our roadways of those types of contributing factors, and ensure before they are licensed that they have that safety training course certificate before them.
What do you think the governor's going to do with this when he gets it? Any indication of what his plans were?
We've been working closely with the administration on this to ensure that it goes smoothly, addressing all the concerns. So we'll see what he does. I hope he signs it. It's really about safety, Ray, and whatever we can do to equip our motorcyclists out there in the streets to have at least the most basic safety gear, and get them to understand that just like a seatbelt, it's instinctive. You just kind of put it on after a while, and you don't even know you have it on.
Well, as long as you put it on your head, Bob made the point yesterday when we were talking about this, because it was pretty clear that it was going to pass. He'd made the point that we need to be careful, because there are some places where they say, all right, you have to wear a helmet, and the guy will, strap it to his shoulder or strap it to his knee and ride around with it that way, thus fulfilling the requirement of law to be, quote, wearing a helmet. Is there any language in there that specifies that the helmet should be worn on the head area? The head region must be within 6 inches of the neck, parallel to the ear.
That'll be addressed to the safety course, to make sure where you put your helmet on.
Yeah, there might be a couple of guys that might try to challenge things. Bottom of the hour, and just real quick before we get into the last look at headlines and traffic here for a little bit.
I think one thing we want to point out, Ray, that was really was a good compromise as well regarding the safety helmet, is that it's any new licensee will be required to wear a helmet up to at least 3 years I'm not sure if you saw that.
I did, and I just, it's one of those things. Again, I don't know how a police officer is going to be able to enforce that on the fly. It's one of those things that we'll find out when they get pulled over, and the cop takes a look at his license. Says, "You only been riding for 2 years. Where's your helmet?"
Well, based on that's right, because of the issuance, and again, with agreement of the body and looking at the issuance of these licenses, they're every 3 years or 5 years. So if you had a motorcycle license and you went through the whole course, the safety course, if you were to come back and get the reissuance, you will have already completed 3 years of driving with it.
So you will have earned the privilege of being able to make that choice on your own.
Right.
I think now I know that Senator Tina Rose had brought up. What about guys that have been riding, mini bikes on the dirt track since they were 7 years old, and kids like that. What do we do with them? They've obviously got some experience. They know probably better than anybody else about safety on these rides. Is there a distinction for them? Is there a way that could have been folded in?
That was kind of, she brought that up. I told her it's just specific for our roadways. I mean, anything. If these kids are riding on the side of the roads, are you just talking on our roadways? Because anybody I think you have to be 15 to get a permit first of all to even be on our roadways.
Oh, definitely on the roadways, but she was worried.
I told her it was specific to the roadways.
Well, we were talking about experience. And they know how to ride bikes. They've been on them for all of their lives here. But now that just because they're 15 years old and they're going to be riding on the roadways, they're going to have to wear the helmet.
Yeah, I addressed that with Senator Limtiaco as well, and he was in agreement that even under the age. I mean, he's been riding for a while, and he was in agreement. And we worked it out with Senator Barnes that we're focusing really on.
Safety on the roads.
Safety on the road, and they will have their time. If they're under the age of, let's say, they got their clearances around maybe 16 or was it 15, within 3 years, by the age of 18, you will be able to graduate out of that program as well.
One last thing here before I let you run is I do want to spend a little bit of time talking about the gambling/GMH legislation. You pretty much stayed true to form. You originally voted when the first Nicholas Amendment came up. You did vote to ban gambling at that time.
That's correct, and we were a lot of the discussions that were being brought up. Actually, I even got Rose yesterday on the floor to. Because we were talking a lot about the hypocrisy of everything that's happening with gaming, and hypocrisy exists today, and we know in the real world there's just going to be even apples and apples that, but one will be green.
Do you think though that maybe this is one of those things that probably should have gotten a little bit more? I mean, now the benefit of a public hearing where it comes to turning a bill into something that has got a whole lot of people agitated to a bill that's actually going to do what it is that you set out to do. I mean, so I mean, in this case, don't you think that there should have been, after Mike offered that amendment, another amendment that said, we'll do that after we have a public hearing?
Actually, I think I was brought some discussion up that was pretty much very reasonable, and I asked the both authors of 20 and 19. I'm not sure what they were going to do. I said this on the floor, but let's end something right now. We do have a legal question before the courts, and if we truly respect our legal system or our court system, let's allow that process to take its course, because we have been arguing the issue of the legality of these machines for quite some time. Let's allow the court process, the court proceedings, to take its course. And once we have a clear understanding of that, we can proceed on this. And I was trying to make that clear. I was hoping that the opponents or the proponents of Bill 20 would do the same. And I was asking if they could just pull it and allow for this process to take its course. I've always been a proponent of 19.
What did they tell you? What was the hurry? I keep asking that question.
Yeah, and I was trying to make it clear, right, that if we truly, as we do, say that we support our legal system, how can we help them out? I guess let's start with us. I guess this is to be the first step to supporting the system, showing us a clear understanding that they have a legal question. Allow it to take its course, and then we'll have an understanding what the decision of the courts what the ruling will be, and we'll place it there.
Yeah, in the meantime, unanimous support for a bill I don't think anybody is happy with. It's 8:37 in the morning. Senator, again, congratulations on the helmet bill. We'll wait and see when the governor signs it into law.